Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is 1:38 a.m. and I'm gonna vlog for a little bit, and then I'm gonna listen to my audiobook for a little bit because I'm like an hour or so into the BTK Killer book by the daughter. I'm really liking it. I wouldn't say it's the most well-written book in the world, but the way that it's told is really, really interesting. But I'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, I fixed my camera first thing, and I was, had told you guys about how it was like dark screen and then it would go light when I started pushing record. So today, it was doing it at home too, and I was recording videos at home, and so I was messing around with it, and I noticed that the turn dial on the top was on like a setting that I've never used before, and it wasn't on. I must have turned it by accident, so I turned it back on like the movie one, and it fixed everything. So now it's working fine, and I have two coffees down here. I have this coffee, my iced coffee from Starbucks, and then I have this coffee from Dunkin Donuts, which I will explain all of this in just a minute. But anyway, so Peter, what did you do today? I got up and did some stuff with the dogs around the house, like took them out and all that kind of stuff. And then I had my training session today with my trainer at the gym. And I walked in, and I didn't see him when I walked in. He's usually like standing like right out there, like talking to the person before me. And I didn't see him, and so I kind of just like sat down in the chair, and this other girl that works there, who I know really, really well because I've talked to her a lot, like in the office. Like I'll sit in there afterwards and talk to them, and we just kind of sit around and talk. So anyway, I know her really, really well, and I'm looking for my lip balm, and I can't find it. Okay. So anyway, I noticed that she was working with this, like she was finishing up with this woman that he usually sees, because she's usually like the person before me. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, So she came over to me after she was done with the woman, and she said, so you'll be training with me today? And I just looked at her, and I go, did he quit? And she goes, how do you know? Did he tell you? And I said, no. I said, I don't know why. I said, I had a weird feeling. She was like, was it something he said? I go, no, he didn't say anything. I said, he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything, She was like, yeah. She was like, he decided to leave. And so she said, we need to kind of come up with a plan and like what you want to do going forward. And so we sat down, and like I agreed to continue to work with her because I already know her, and she's super nice, and I think she'll push me. I don't think she'll have a hard time pushing me at all. And we kind of talked about what my goals were and things like that, and that I had kind of fallen off track from what I wanted to do. And so we kind of talked about some of that and coming up with a new plan for that. She's really great. And we ended up going over the session a little bit, talking. So by that point, we didn't have time to actually train. So I'm going back in there on Wednesday afternoon for my actual training session. But, so that was the training, and then I left. I was kind of like, I always get weird attachments with people, right? And like, it's weird to me, like, that this guy that I trusted so much, it's my trainer, that's all of a sudden now he's just like gone, you know what I mean? Like, I was just talking, I think, last week in a video about like how much you trust your trainer and your hairstylist and stuff, but at the same time, I understand people needing to go on and do new things, and I wish him the best, and I hope he does well, and I'm really, thankful for the time that he gave me. And we were talking today, and she's like, what's one of the successes that you feel? And I said, I've definitely plateaued with my weight loss, and I said, and that's all my responsibility. I said, because I have like fallen off completely from what I was doing before. We were talking about like raw foods diets and stuff, because I have a friend of mine that owns a raw food business, and I had done a raw foods diet for a while, and she was like, well, what keeps you from doing it again? And I said, nothing really. I said, I love food, and I love to eat, And so she's like, well, what's one of the successes? And I said, well, I know to a lot of people it's not like really a success. I said, but I did lose like, 15 pounds and have kept it off through the holidays, through the beginning of the year. And I said, but the problem is I said, January to now, I really should have been working hard and I haven't been. And so she was like, well, what things do you, I really liked her attitude of like bringing it back to me. And she's like, well, what things do you need to do to get back on track? And I said, I know for me, it's all food and diet. Like, I know it is. Like, it wouldn't hurt me to get in the gym a few more times a week and stuff too, but most of it is like food and diet. So, I don't know, I felt really encouraged leaving there. I mean, even though I was sad that he was gone, I feel encouraged, and to some degree, like, excited to work with her and see somebody, different and their attitude about it. So, we'll see. But anyway, that was that, and then I left there and I went to Starbucks and I got my coffee, venti iced coffee with 2 equals. One of the things I have not been doing that I should have been doing was not be drinking the equals. And then I went, did I go home right after that? I can't remember. Like, thinking about my day. I got so much stuff done today, it's unreal. Yeah, I went home, like everything on my list I got done today, except for that I didn't live stream, and I wanted to live stream tonight. But I was so tired because we went to dinner tonight. By the time that we got home from dinner, I was so exhausted. I talked to Tanya for a long time after dinner too, but anyway, so I came home and I took a shower and I did my hair. And my hair's been driving me kind of crazy all day. Like, like when you put product in it, but like, I mean, I put product in my hair every day, always the exact same way, but like today it's like kind of gloopy right here or something. It's just, and I can't get it like to spread out. It's right here and it's driving me crazy. So I felt like it was pointless that I even like took a shower and did my hair because my hair was driving me crazy. But so I did that, and then right after, like, I went downstairs to go do something. Oh, to set up the lights and stuff in the living room before I came upstairs and, like, did my hair and changed my shirt and stuff. And I had my meditation book setting out, and I had done a couple of them this morning, but I had saved the Melody Beatty and the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone. I had saved those 2 to do in a video. So it was like nice today. Like, it wasn't super warm, but it was like in the 40s, like mid 40s. Which is, to be honest, like a lot warmer than it's been in Indianapolis. And the birds were chirping, and it just was a pretty day. Like, it just was like sunny and pretty outside. It felt like early spring to some degree. So I set up the chair outside and I did my Peterisms video outside. And that was fun. Because I want to do it some different places, And so then I did that and came upstairs, did my hair, put on my shirt, came downstairs, and then I filmed my Peter Monn video, and then I filmed my Booktube video, and I got all those uploaded. And at that point, like, I was texting and talking to Alex, and Alex had his like individual session tonight with our counselor, so he got off work and went to that. And then like, I texted him, I was like, are you hungry? He's like, I'm hungry. And I said, okay, you'll get something to eat. He's like, yeah, I'll come home after work, and then or after my session, we can figure it out. So I went and reviewed I was trying to actually review the Dunkin Donuts donut fries, but if you watch my review, you'll know they said that they don't make them there anymore. So I ended up just getting the Irish cream coffee, iced coffee. It's interesting, when I did the review, I mean, it's really watered down now. I did the review at like 7, I think, and it's now like, what, early, like, well, almost 2 o'clock. So was that 5, 6, 7? I'm like 7 hours. I mean, it's obviously watered down, but I really liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really tasty. I mean, I don't think it's something that I would want every day because I don't love like creamy coffee. Like, that's just not my thing. I like black coffee with like a little bit of sugary in it, but it's just where you can, like, just enough that you can hint the taste of it. But I wouldn't say it's bad. Like, not at all, you know, in comparison to all of the coffee drinks that I've tried. I'm not like a Frappuccino person, so, I mean, it's really pretty good. But yeah, I had so much fun. I am having so much fun on that review channel, and because I just kind of wing them. Like, I was sitting like in bed with Alex earlier, and I was thinking about, I actually have review videos written down for every day this week that I'm going to do if I get to them. And I was laying there and I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this, something that I have to review that I had bought like last week that I'm going to review. I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. But I want to do it like a certain way. So, yeah, I'm going to do that, I think, tomorrow. It'll be real cute. I mean, I think it'll be really cute, but that doesn't mean that it will be. So anyway, let's see. My eye is really itching tonight. I don't know why. Surely, allergies cannot. I get allergies really bad in the spring and in the fall. I mean, allergies cannot be starting this early. What is it? Almost middle of March. So, I did that, came home, got the review video, and like had it rendering, and then uploaded it to YouTube, and then Alex and I decided we were going to go to Cheesecake Factory. I wanted the Impossible Burger, which is what I always want when I go there. It's so delicious. And Alex was like, he thought he could get something healthy there. He ended up getting spaghetti and a meatball. Or spaghetti and meatballs, which he cuts up into meat sauce. Somebody was asking me earlier, they were like, is the spaghetti and meat sauce really that good from Cheesecake Factory? It looks delicious. I've never had it. Alex loves it. But I will tell you that their 4-cheese pasta there is like surreal. It's so good. So he got that, and I got the Impossible Burger, and yeah, it was fun. It was good. That was kind of it, and we sat there and talked, and I did a bunch of other stuff today too, like business stuff, and like not related to YouTube, but it was just a good dinner tonight. We sat there and we just like talked about stuff, and he shared his day with me, and I shared my day with him, and it was just nice. And we talked about our trip and what we're excited about, and kind of talked about some possibilities for this summer. It was funny because he was like, so Alex's brother lives in San Diego, and we're planning a trip at some point out to San Diego. And, you know, one of the things is like, now, a lot of the places that we visit, we think to ourselves, this is a place that we might want to move. And I'm pretty resigned to move to South Florida, and he wants to move there too. But he was like, San Diego, would you move there? And I said, no. And he goes, no, right away? And I go, well, I guess I wouldn't say no. I said, I haven't been there. And he goes, well, it's beautiful, and it's on the ocean. He went there like when he was like in college to visit a friend or something. And he goes, it's beautiful, it's on the ocean, you know, blah, blah, blah. He was like, you know, for you, like one of the things is you want to be able to like drive, listen to your audiobook, and be like kind of residential. He's like, that's one of the areas. And I said, well, you know what's funny is I said, I never ever imagined that I would maybe live in California. I said, I don't know, San Diego is maybe a place that I could consider living. Like, I could maybe imagine myself in San Diego. It was weird. It was like, that had never been on my radar before. So, it'll be interesting. The other thing is, I really want to, like, we're thinking about doing this Airbnb thing. But the other thing that we were thinking about today is, we have a really good friend of ours that's in Fort Lauderdale right now. And she and her boyfriend rented a house with like a pool and stuff. And they're there for like an extended, like months. They're there for like, they're working there for an extended period of time. And I was like, you know, we could like drive down to Florida with the dogs and get an Airbnb, like either in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, but anywhere between like Fort Lauderdale and Miami, like Hollywood or whatever, you could probably get more, you know, space. Plus like a pool. If you got like a house with a pool, which would be perfect for the dogs, and the dogs could, you know, run around the backyard and stuff like that. That would be perfect. And then I said, you know, we could just go down there and we could like work from down there and stuff like that. And, but he would have to situate it, you know, with his work stuff in a way that he could take an extended period of time off. So we actually kind of talked about that tonight, because I said, I think that would be really fun to go down like, you know, for like 2 or 3 weeks and just like see if we really do enjoy living in Florida, you know, and doing it during the summer. And I think the other thing is like, summer is probably one of the times that we would actually be back in Indiana, because we're not going to sell the condo. So, you know, we've talked about going back and forth, and, you know, that would be one of the times that we would be back in Indianapolis, because summer in Florida, I heard, is very, very hot, and summer in Indianapolis is really nice. And, you know, comfortable. Hot. August can be hot, but I think this summer is going to be a really, really hot summer, because we had such a mild winter, or because we didn't have such a mild winter. And usually what happens is, like, if you have a mild, like in Indiana, if we have a mild winter, then we have a mild summer. But if we have a really, like, cold, kind of wet winter, which we did this year, then it's like a really, you know, like, kind of hot, wet summer. So I have a feeling that's what we're going to have. At least that's what the Farmer's Almanac says. Okay, so how long has this camera been out of focus for? I'm gonna have to stop it and start it over. I apologize, guys. I'm not gonna go back and start the vlog over from the very beginning, so I don't know how long it's been out of focus. I'm really, really sorry, but a lot of people say they just listen to it anyway. But that does kind of make me mad. I wish that it had been in focus. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay. Let's see what else. Oh, so then we did dinner, and then we came home, and he watched like one show of something, and I like went upstairs in bed with Boo and was just like laying there talking to Boo, and it's like really calming and relaxing. I don't know if you guys do it or not, or if it's corny or whatever, just to lay there and talk to your dogs. Like, I mean, I'm not stupid. I know they don't understand it, even though I like to act like they do. But it's very, very calming and relaxing for me. And so I laid there and I talked to Boo in bed for a little bit. And then Alex came upstairs with the other dogs, and he had given PP his medicine, and then we lay there and talked for a little bit, and then he went to sleep, and I like kind of rested my eyes for a little while, and then got up and looked around on Audible for a little bit. I finally bought the third book for My Life as a White Trash Zombie, by Dinah Rowland, for my trip. I think I'm going to listen to it, because Tanya said in my live stream the other day that she hated that new Leanne Moriarty book, which makes me really sad, because I really wanted to read that on my vacation, or listen to that on Audible. I think I'm going to take The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. I've heard really, really good things about that. Listen, I'm actually going to ask this on my Booktube channel too, but I want to read a really, really, really good book on my vacation. Like, this is the book I'm going to take as a physical copy. So, because I have enough audiobooks, I don't need any help with audiobooks. But if you guys are like avid readers, I need a book that you literally could not put down, okay? But I would like it not to be like terrifying, like horror, but maybe like a little like adventurous or thriller-ish, something like that, like, you know, but something that you can't put down. I really need some suggestions for that, because I don't really know what I'm going to take as far as a book down there. If I take like a James Patterson book, I'll just like tear right through it. And I want to have like a book, not just my like Kindle on my phone for next to the pool. So I need some suggestions. And if you guys have any suggestions for a book you absolutely could not put down, and if you have a couple of them, please give me a couple of them, because probably if you give me 2 or 3 of them, I've probably read at least one of them. So yeah, I need to go to Half Price Books too, and kind of look around and see what they have. And so Thomas Harris, who wrote Silence of the Lambs, he has a new book coming out. I think it's coming out in April or May, and it's called Carrie Mora. I can't remember. But it's about this like guy, and he's looking for this treasure that's built underneath this, or it's hidden beneath this house in Miami. Okay, and I'm going to Miami. So, and it's about this guy, and he like falls in love with this, or he like seduces this girl so that he can get into the house, but then she's got like plans of her own, and it's like this double betrayal kind of thing. It's supposed to be really good, right? Well, I wanted to read this book so bad while I was in Miami, so I reached out to the publisher, because like when you work with books a lot, like on Booktube, or if you have a book blog or Bookstagram or whatever, this happens all the time. Like there are people that I know that literally, like every book they read is an ARC, which is an advanced reader's copy, or an advanced review copy. And they send them out for like every book. You can get them at like book conferences and things like that. So I reached out to the publisher, and usually like publishers, like 9 times out of 10 will say, like, if you really ask and you have a legit reason, they'll be like, yeah, sure. I would say like 95% of the time, if it's somebody that they just really want their book noticed whatsoever, they'll send you a copy, no questions asked. And I don't really ask for copies very often, because if I'm not going to read it, I won't ask for it. Like, if I know that, like, there's, like, a lot of people out there that just get them because they just want to have them. But I won't do that. I leave it for somebody that actually wants to read it. And then there's a lot of people that I know. There's, like, this guy on BookTube. Like, he gets so many ARCs, and he literally reads all of them. Like, I find out about so many books from him. So, anyway, but I did reach out for this one. I may have talked about this on here, I don't know. But I reached out to her, and she was so sweet, this publisher. And she was so nice, and, or she's like his agent, or I don't know what she was, but I think she worked at the publishing company, and she was like, she emailed me back, and she was like, can you contact me closer to the time, because I don't know that we're going to actually send out readers' copies, because like huge releases like Thomas Harris or Dan Brown or like Danielle Steele or, James Patterson, probably. I mean, people that like are just like, they sell out like immediately. Like Dan Brown, he always like sells, right away. Like J.K. Rowling, like she wouldn't like do an advanced reader's copy, probably. I can't imagine that she would. But anyway, so it's usually to get, it's like PR is basically what it is. So I reached out to her. She's like, reach back to us closer to the time of your trip. She was like, if we do send them out, I would love to send you a copy of it, blah, 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 whatever. And so I was like, okay. And so like last week sometime, I emailed her back, and I said, I feel like I need to check the camera to make sure I'm still focused. I said, hey, just checking back around. I don't know if you guys decided if you're going to send out ARCs or not. I said, but I'm leaving on vacation like a couple weeks, and I just wanted to check and see. And she emailed me back like right away, and she was like, I'm sorry that we've decided not to send out ARCs for Thomas Harris's new book. She was like, but I would love to send you a copy like once it's published and whatever. And I was like, oh, I said, like, that would mean the world to me. I said, but I also believe in, buying copies from the authors to support their work and whatever. And I just kind of left it up in the air. So anyway, I was kind of like, about that. Like, I wanted to read that in Miami. I like to read books that take place where they are, like, when I'm there. But it is what it is. And I also, this is the other thing, okay? Don't be sending me, like, the Poisonwood Bible or something like that. Or what's the, like, another deep book like that, Kafka. When I was on my way to LA, this guy, like, next to me was reading The Stranger by Albert Camus. And I was like, that's light reading on the plane? Like, seriously? And he didn't look like, he was like older, so he was like, older. He was like probably older than me by like 15 or 20 years. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting book to like, I don't know. For me, when I'm traveling, I like to read light stuff. I like to enjoy like escapist kind of novels. But that's just me. So anyway, so if you're going to recommend a book, please make it something that is kind of like light and easy to read. I don't want to read something that's, super hard. This coffee is done, which is fine. Shift to next copy. I'm almost done with the Unlovable series by Esther Pearl Watson about Tammy Pierce, and it's these graphic novels, and I'm like, I showed them on here, and I'm in love with these books. They're so fantastic. And I'm kind of sad. Like, I don't want it to end because, I mean, it's just her sophomore year and then you don't get to find out what happens afterwards. I mean, they're not real serious books, but she's a very endearing character, and I kind of really relate to her on a lot, like on some kind of deep level. I don't know. Like, she knows she's a loser, but she thinks she's kind of cool, but she's like but she also knows that she's kind of a loser. I don't know, I just like so related to it when I was in high school, maybe even kind of today a little bit, you know? Like, nothing that she does is ever right. But she does things to, like, because she wants to, like, you know, be cool, but then it, like, backfires in her face. I don't know, it's totally kind of how I was in high school, I guess. Like, well, maybe not me so much as, like, my group of friends, like, you know? And then there became a point where we just didn't care. But I love her, and she's such a lovable character. Okay, speaking of books real quick, let's talk about Daughter of a Serial Killer by Carrie Rollins. And this is this month's book for the book club, and I'm starting it like real early because I want to get it done. Oh, by the way, if you're in Peter's book club, because I am going to be out of town the last Sunday of March, we have decided, there was a poll that we took on Goodreads. Mel, hello, Mel. Mel put up a poll on Goodreads, and I have been singing the theme song to Rear Window like all day. That da 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 da. Anyway, you guys, have you seen Rear Window? I love Rear Window. Okay. But Mel put up a poll, and we had talked about it, and so she put up a poll asking which date would be better, and I think they picked I know that they picked the 24th. So we're doing the live stream Sunday the 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be for Daughter of a Serial Killer by Carrie Rollins, and she is the daughter of the BTK killer. And the book is really, really interesting. Okay, so, I mean, one of the things is you can actually tell it's her writing it, probably, like, I mean, it's not told in, like, flowery words. It's not poorly written at all, either. It's just, you can very much tell it's, like, a first person's account, right? And what's interesting is it goes in and it talks about the day that the FBI came and told her. It's like in 2005, I think, that she got a knock at the door, and she didn't know who this guy was, and she was living in Michigan, and she didn't want to, like, answer the door because she didn't know who this guy was. And so he said he was from the FBI, and, like, her dad had always taught her, like, to ask for his badge. Her dad was, like, super protective of them as kids and family. And so she opened the door, and he showed his badge, and she looked at it, and then she let him in. And so she found out that her dad was like, that was the day that they had caught him, that he was the BTK killer, which stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. And it was a name it was like a name he had come up with, and called in the local newspaper, which was the Eagle, I think. So then it flashes back to, like, the family history, like, of her grandparents being in, like, her grandfathers being in the war, and how her grandparents met, and it reminded me so much of, like, my family to some degree, like, just hearing the stories, you know. And then it talks about, like, her parents meeting and how they met, and then her being born. She was born in, I think, 77 or 78. I figured it out. She's like 5 or 6 years younger than me. So yeah, I think she's 6 years younger than me. So 78. And because she would be 40 right now, which was weird. I was, like, thinking about it, like, when she was writing this book, I thought, you know, to find out late in life, like, who your parent was and never know. It's like, you know, the Golden State Killer, who they just caught last year, you know, based on the book I'll Be Gone in the Dark. Like, he has, like, 3 adult kids that are all doctors. They're, like, all doctors, his kids. So, like, they talk about that in the Paul Holes book, because they interview, like, this guy that he used to work with, and the guy was like, yeah, like, every bit of money that he saved, he sent off to send his kids to medical school. Like, is that not crazy that this guy that's, like, a serial killer, and, like, you know, like, I mean, he tortured so many people, but at the same time, he's, like, sending his kids to medical school, and he's, like, a family guy, you know? It's just, I don't know, it's weird. And that's a lot of what this book is about, like, the beginning part of it. Like I said, I'm not super far into it, but that's what, like, the beginning part of it is. I'm, like, almost an hour into it, I think. And she's maybe a little bit over that. she goes back and she talks a lot about her childhood and what her childhood was like, and going to church on Sundays, you know, and her parents were active in the church. Like, her mom sang in the choir and her dad was like an usher, so she would sit with her grandparents. I don't know why that part stood out to me a lot, but and then she talks about like these trips that they took, and her dad building her and her brother a what do you call it, a tree house, and just this very normal, good, happy childhood. But she starts having nightmares at some point, which is kind of interesting to me. She says night terrors, actually, which I talked about on here, about having night terrors. Alex and I were talking about this tonight because I was telling him about it, and he said, you know, and I said, you know what's so weird about it is that you think you know somebody, you know, like, but your neighbor could be a serial killer. Of course, there were some jokes about this on the side, right? Because, like, people close to Ted Bundy didn't know that Ted Bundy was doing this, you know? People close to the Golden State Killer, they didn't know that he was doing this. People close to this, they didn't know that he was doing this, you know, the BTK killer. And we're going to read about John Wayne Gacy, and, like, he's another one that people didn't know. You know, he was respected in his community and stuff. So it's, like, it's crazy to think that, you know, that could be anybody out there. And one of the things I love that she talks about, like, I like that she weaves back and forth between, like, her childhood and current day. Kind of, she weaves back and forth. It's mostly, like, weighted right now into her past. But one of the things that she does talk about is, like, things that her dad has said since he's been caught. And, like, being asked, like, why he stopped for a while and wasn't murdering anybody. He said, like, I was a family man, and, you know, like, I was raising kids and had a job and a family. Like, I didn't have time to, you know, be out doing those things. Which I think is really interesting, you know, that was his perspective. But then he also talks in there about having this dark obsession, and I mean, he had a lot of, like, the serial killer traits that we all think of, like killing small animals when he was a kid. He talks about that, or she talks about that in there, and that he really, like, fought off, like, urges to, like, do things when he was younger, and that a lot of them he did do. And it's crazy to think that, like, you know, nobody even knew that about him. Okay, I'm gonna turn around here, so, because I am way out in the country. Do you guys remember when I said I wasn't going to ever drive out in the country again? Well, here I am. And let me just show you. If you guys would like to see how far out in the country I am. Look at this. Cornfields for days. Cornfields for days. What if somebody was just standing there? I would be so scared. Oh my gosh. Literally not a soul out on the road. But look at the sky. Oh my God, the stars are so pretty. I would die if somebody walked up to my car right now and be like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm really enjoying reading that book. It's really interesting. I'm actually going to take a break from this in a second and listen to some of it and then come back on and finish the vlog. Do you guys, like, sing to yourselves? I used to think it was, like, weird when I was growing up. Like, my mom, like, would, like, talk to herself. Like, I'd be, like, you know, upstairs or whatever, and she'd be, like, talking to herself in the kitchen. Or talking to the dog. And I can remember shouting down and be like, are you talking to me, Mom? Like, did you need something? And she'd be like, no, I'm just talking to the dog. Or, no, I was just singing or talking to myself. And I don't know if this is, like, truly a sign of getting older, but, like, that is full on my life. Talking to my dogs and talking to myself at home. And I don't mind it. I really don't. And I sing songs. That's what I was saying. I sing songs around the house all the time. Talked to Tanya for a long time tonight. She called me on our way home from dinner, so I talked to her after that and just kind of checked in, and she told me all about her trip, and I told her all about my nothing since she's been gone. And we're going to go to the meeting tomorrow night unless she gets running really late because she's back at the kennel tomorrow. So she's like, yeah, she's like, I want to. She's like, it just depends on what time I get out of here. So hopefully the meeting tomorrow night. And because I didn't go last week because it was Liliana's birthday. And I'm happy that she's home. I miss her. I mean, when we talk when she's out of town, but like this last trip, we didn't talk a lot because she was sick like the first 2 days, and then she was like catching up with Nick and his girlfriend, and Eric, her husband, his other son lives down there too. He has a son from his first marriage that lives down there. His daughter from his first marriage lives down there too, and so he was like they were like hanging out with them and stuff. So Tanya and I caught up tonight, and that was nice. I missed her. You know, it's weird because I have a couple people, I would say like 2 people, maybe 3, that I talk to. Well, I was going to say Mel and include her in that, but that I don't consider her like a YouTube friend. I mean, Mel and I are too good of friends at this point. But I have I don't know, that's not true. I don't know that I consider any of these people like YouTube friends anymore. I used to have all that, but I don't anymore. But I have a couple people that I know, let's just say via YouTube, right? Or social media that I talk to like regularly on the phone. But then I have like Tanya, Melissa, but she's so busy, that often when I call her, she's doing like a dog run or something like that with all her volunteer stuff. Like there go whole days, like if Tanya's out of town, where I legit don't talk to anybody, like not one person, like other than my husband, obviously, but like, or I'll call my sponsor and talk to her for a little bit. But like, I mean, I think people think like my phone is just rings constantly. You know what I mean? That like, oh, people are just calling me all the time. And I guess this is not really for the people that watch my videos, but this is out there for like some of my friends that watch my vlogs. Because they'll always be like, well, I know you're really busy. And I'm like, I'm really not that busy. Like, I really am not. Like, I feel very lucky to have the life that I have, and, things that I have planned out to come out the way that they are so that my life looks like the way it is today. But at the same time, it's weird, like when you start getting really used to spending a lot of time alone. And if you go back and you watch my vlogs, there was a period where I said like I was really lonely. I do struggle with loneliness from time to time, but I wouldn't say I feel it the way that I used to feel it. Not at all. Like, there's often times where I really enjoy just being by myself, or going to eat by myself is something that I kind of enjoy now for lunch sometimes. The thing is with like that is that I can just like jump in and jump out and eat something quick, and it doesn't have to be like, an hour and a half long thing where I like take a shower or like get dressed nice. I can just like throw on a hat and go in there and eat, you know what I mean? And especially at this Ruth's Cafe that I always go to, because it's always kind of like they just know me there. And so I always get the same thing. I get the soup, and I get and they know I'm a vegetarian, so if it's not a vegetarian soup, if it's a vegetarian soup, I get the soup of the day. If it's not, I get the tomato basil and a grilled cheese on challah bread. And so, because this one waitress recommended the challah bread, before that I didn't get it on challah bread. It's called Grandma's Secret if you ever go there, and I love it. That's the grilled cheese I get. It's Velveeta. It's super healthy. It's super, super healthy. It's like 4 pieces of Velveeta. It's not healthy at all. But it's so delicious. I don't know that I would want to eat a lot of it in the summer, but in the winter, but I don't know. It's like there becomes a point where you kind of enjoy your time alone a little bit, and then you find yourself, like the whole kind of joke about the cat lady, the woman that like lives at home alone with her cats and she's like 50, like I'm starting to kind of understand it to some degree, And the other thing is that like Alex is around people all day long. So honest to God, when he comes home, like if he doesn't go out and do something, like he just wants silence. Like he'll talk with me like at dinner and stuff like that, but he really enjoys just kind of sitting there and like watching a TV show and like being on his phone and looking at Instagram and stuff like that, Plus, when he's at home, like he doesn't stop working. He still does a lot of stuff from home. So, I don't know. That's why vacation is so fantastic for us, because especially for him, like I continue to make videos and stuff like that, but for him, he completely stops. Like his job, like when he leaves, like he has, like he was telling me tonight, he's like, I've already got all this stuff, you know, planned out and all this stuff ready, and they've got notes for the meeting, and I didn't realize I was at the end. Anyway, he said, I have all this stuff planned out, and I have this done, and I have that done, and whatever. And he's like, I'm really getting stuff done. And I was like, yeah, me too. And he goes, he goes, are you going to try to pre-film some videos before vacation? I go, okay, let's just put this in perspective. I said, if I were to pre-film videos, I think I talked about this the other night, for my Peterisms, my Peter Likes Books videos, and my review videos, if I pre-filmed videos for all 3 of those channels, just those, okay? Not my drama channel, not my vlog channel, just those 3 channels. If I pre-filmed a video for every day that I was gone, it would be almost 40 videos, you guys, okay, that I would have to pre-film in 3 weeks. 40 videos. So I'm gonna do my best, because I love to make videos and I love to post them, and I got 9 million ideas, so that shouldn't be hard. The Peterisms is really like the easiest of that, because it's what I have the most ideas. The review is going to be the hardest, because a lot of the reviews that I do, although my husband tonight, when I told him that, he goes, well, you've got all that junk in the garage that you bought and never reviewed. All that as seen on TV stuff, he goes, you got that all in the garage. I go, I know, but I have to like use it and try it. That's like, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hour process for like a 6-minute video, you know what I mean? So, he went out there and he wanted, like, he didn't know that it was part of that. I don't know if I told this on here or not, but like, he wanted to use something that was out there and it was part of a video that I'm doing. And I was like, he goes, can I use this? And I go, no. I go, that's part of one of my videos that I'm gonna do for my review channel. And he goes, Peter, it's literally been sitting out here for months. And I go, I know. I go, but it's part of my video that I'm gonna do. I started laughing so hard. I said, well, as soon as I get the video done, I said, maybe I'll do that video tomorrow so you can just have it and be happy with it. And he's like, it's something that's kind of winter exclusive, and it truly kind of is. And he goes, don't you think that you should probably be... I think the thing that I love about the review channel so much, honest to God, is that no matter what you do, you just cannot take it too seriously. You just can't, okay? If you're reviewing a ding dong, it's just not that serious, okay? If you're reviewing, I don't know, some exercise board as seen on TV, it's just not that serious, okay? I don't care, come for me, it's just the truth, okay? I know somebody in the comment section is gonna be like, well, to somebody that was very hard work, and that was, yeah, I understand all that, okay? It's still just not that deep, all right? You know, it's not that deep to go try some McDonald's donuts, or, you know, a coffee from Dunkin'. It's just, it's fun. It is lighthearted, it's so much fun. I'm having such a blast on that channel. I love that channel. And so anyway, yeah, I've got ideas for days. I've got stuff out there that I bought for days. I went on like 3 separate trips buying things. And then like specifically to like Bed Bath & Beyond. And then those bags are just sitting out there. And I just didn't review that stuff. And honestly, like, people always want to know why I review food so much. Food is easy, you guys. Like, I mean, as a review video, it's super easy. I just pull through a drive-thru, I order it, I sit in my car, I try it, and there's the video. I mean, it's just not that deep, you know? It's super easy. That's a lot of why I do that. But, so I have all of these kind of like as seen on TV things that I really do want to try, though. The other thing is I didn't just buy anything that was as seen on TV. I bought things that were things I really wanted to try. Like that shoe dazzler or whatever that thing was called, where you stack your shoes. That was a bunch of junk. But anyway, I love doing that channel. It's so much fun. I think when I get back from vacation, because I've kind of taken a hiatus from writing. You obviously know that. I haven't talked about it on here for a while. And I've really slowed down a lot with it. And I need to get back on it, like, with quickness. And so I've kind of decided that when I get back from vacation, I'm gonna make like a diligent effort to have a writing schedule where I want to write so much. And I think I'm gonna do it, like, I started setting it up and then I kind of didn't follow what I was gonna do. And I think I'm gonna do it over like a 3-month period with both of these books that I'm working on, because that is a long enough period of time for me to write up. I mean, honest to God, it really is. I I get asked from time to time, like, how to write a book, or like, what did you do? I've done that video before on Booktube. But I don't know. I might do that video again sometime. I mean, there's not like any one way to write a book, you know? But I do remember back in the day talking to, there's this author, and he's a young adult author, and he wrote a gay series called the Russell Middlebrook series. It's a fantastic series. And it starts with these guys like in high school, and it goes all the way through like them getting married and everything like that, like 10 years later. And his name's Brent Hardiger, and he's written a lot of things, and he's a fantastic author, and he's a really nice guy. So he really helped me a lot when I was writing. And I remember he said, you know, like, you're going to either write organically or structured or a little bit of both. And he was like, you have to figure out what works for you. And I had a structure written up, and then organically the story came out of that. And it worked really naturally for me, and I'm really happy that I did it that way, you know, because it allowed me to have liberty to what I was doing. But like, I had an outline that I went from, but then at times the outline just kind of drifted away, and I just wrote organically. But it was nice to have kind of like an outline to go from, because then I had, you know, structure to go from. So I think I'm going to listen to my audiobook for a little bit, and then I will come back on here and talk a little bit more and finish a little bit more of the vlog. So I love you guys, and I will be back in just a little bit. Bye. All right, I'm back. Listened to my audiobook for a while, and then I was just kind of listening to some classical music on the Symphony channel. I like to listen to it and just kind of like be in my head and think about things. You know, I've talked a lot about this on here. But like being still and just thinking about stuff is something that, first of all, it's way underrated. And as stupid as it sounds, it's something I've really had to practice, you know, and the last, I would say, couple years, I've learned to just like, I don't, there's a lot of times that I'll just drive and I don't listen to anything. And I'll just kind of think about stuff and process things in my head. It's really healthy for me, you know. But I like to listen to classical music and just think about stuff. And I'm way past this part in the book now, but there's a part when, like, this is where I started it tonight, when she's talking about this vacation to South Padre Island, or Padre Island, that they take. And for some reason, it like made me think about this trip that I took with my mom and her friend, to her sorority sister and her daughter, to Beaver Island, Michigan. I've told this story on here before. I know a lot of my stories are repetitive, but you only have so many stories, you know. So anyway, I was thinking about that tonight, and I was thinking about, like, when I look back on that trip, the things that, like, she's talking about, like, building castles in the sand, and that was kind of, like, what made me think about it, because, so, my mom's best friend of life was her friend from high school, Diane, who lived on Beaver Island, Michigan, and you drive to Charlevoix, which is like a 9-hour drive from Indianapolis, and then you take the ferry over. And I remember we like drove up there, and we stopped like halfway and stayed in a hotel overnight. And I remember my mom's friend, like, I grew up with this woman, so like her two daughters were like, this is not Susie, this is another sorority sister. They were like family to me when I was growing up. And but it was just me and the younger daughter, who was like, I think 2 years younger than me. And so I've told this story in here before. I got this tape called Is Elvis Alive? And we were like listening to it, and we were convinced that Elvis is alive, and we were on this like deep investigation. And this was me going into high school, and because I remember that summer I was like terrified to go to high school, like literally terrified to start high school. And, you know, I had a few friends, but I didn't really have like deep friendships with those girls that I ended up becoming friends with later. I didn't have those yet. So I was going into high school really with like no friends, and I was really scared, and you know, stupid stuff. I look back on it, but I guess it wasn't really stupid at the time. You know, I mean, it was really like I was afraid I wouldn't be able to find my locker, and the high school would be so big, and I wouldn't know where I was going, and you know, of course, you know, being bullied, I just thought it would be quadrupled, which it was, and I don't know, you know, like I look back on that period of my life, and it was like, I mean, honestly, we say this and it's a joke, but it was literally some of the best times of my life, and it was some of the worst times of my life too, you know, and being in high school. But that summer before, I was like really scared, and I can remember I was like really into listening to a lot of the music my mom listened to at that time, and you know, or listened to, which was, you know, Bob Dylan and Judy Collins and Led Zeppelin and all the folk music, Joan Baez and Arlo Guthrie, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Neil Young. I would just listen to that album over and over and over. The Concert for Bangladesh that had Ravi Shankar on there, and like really good music, which I think still forms a lot of like what my music tastes are today. But anyway, I remember taking that ferry over and just like having my Walkman in and like listening to Hey Mr. Tambourine Man just like over and over and over again, like Bob Dylan's version of it. And there's a Byrds version that's great too, that's live. I love that version. But we stayed in this hotel room and we like swam, and her daughter and I in the pool, and I can remember we all like put our pajamas on and we were like watching like TV in one of the rooms. Okay, the camera tumbled over. But anyway, I remember we like went swimming, and then we like put our pajamas on, and we were like all like watching TV in one of the rooms, and it was fun. It just was really fun, you know, and kind of innocent, honestly, when I look back on that. And I remember like one of the things I remember is like the windows being rolled up. If you're as old as me, you'll remember this from your parents back in the day. And my mom's friend drove this Bronco, and the air conditioning was like, because it was like August, right? So it was hot. It was like super hot. So we had the air conditioning on full blast. But this road where they were doing construction is so rough. But they were, so they had the windows full blast, but like the whole time, like my mom and her friend smoked. And my mom was like, ever since I was alive, always a smoker, but she was never really a super heavy smoker. But my mom's friend was like, she was a heavy smoker. And I can just remember, like, when they had the ashtray that pulled out, you know, and I can just remember the smell of that car, like the mix of like the cigarette smoke and the you know, air conditioner. Which is funny then, you know, later that I would turn out to be a smoker, that, because like I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But then I remember we got to Charlevoix, and we took I don't really remember Charlevoix a whole lot. I remember we walked around a little bit, and it was really cute. And I spent a lot of summers in Michigan anyway, with my dad, because he had a boat in Saugatuck, but it wasn't in the same, that wasn't like the same area at all. So we took the ferry over from Charlevoix. Like, you load your car on and everything. It was really cool. And then we got to the island, and we met up with, like, I think Diane met us there. And then I remember we rented this house, and my mom would, like, years later talk about how cheap this house was that we, like, rented. And it was, like, this little, like, small little house, but it was, like, on the, like, corner, like, of the lake. And so, like, you would, like, walk around the lake like this, and, like, the house sat right there, and it had, like, a tire swing in the tree, and it was just, like, beautiful. And, like, it had this sandbar outside that literally you could probably walk, like, a mile out, and it was just a sandbar forever. And Lake Michigan is beautiful, but it is ice cold in the summer. And I remember us just being out there for like hours and hours, like in the water. And it kind of reminded me of that, listening to her tell the stories from her childhood a little bit. And I don't know, it's just interesting, you know, when you look back on like what things you remember. I remember that. I remember like this one day we like stayed out in the sun like all day. We got like really, really burnt. And then like that night, like we all took naps, and I remember that night like my mom's sorority sister made dinner, and I think we like grilled out or something, but I do remember there being like this pasta salad that she made that I was like obsessed with after that, and it had like celery in it, and it was really good. But anyway, do you guys ever like eat something like back in the day and you want to like recreate it? You can't remember like what it was. So then I can remember they had this like little like table in the kitchen, and we all sat around there and played cards forever. My mom and I used to play cards a lot when I was growing up. My mom loved to play cards. My grandma was really, really good at cards. Like, I thought she had been a dealer in Vegas. So if you're new to my vlog, you won't know these stories, okay? If you're not new to my vlog, you know where I'm going with this. But I thought my grandma had been a dealer in Vegas, maybe, or something. Like, I thought there was, like, some hidden secret about my grandma. Little did I know what it was. Because she could deal cards like nobody's business. She could shuffle cards. Like, she had all these different shuffling tricks that she would do. And she would just sit there and play solitaire for hours. And, like, she had a friend of hers that they would play, like, Honeymoon, Bridge, and Honeymoon, like, what's the other one? They play everything. They play Canasta, and what's the one where you play, it's 4 people? Is that Bridge? They played euchre, but mostly it was Bridge. And, but, like, I played cards with my grandma a lot, too, when I would be over there. And, like, Caroline and I would stay over there with my grandma, but I stayed with my grandma a lot. This is my mom's mom. So anyway, my grandma was real good at dealing cards. I found out after my mom passed away that my grandma had been to prison. And I kind of, I don't know, maybe I make this up in my head. But I kind of, like, wonder if, you know, she sat in prison and played cards every day. So that's why she was so good at cards. I don't know. I think my grandma, for me, today, is a good example of you can make horrible choices in your life, you know, but you aren't that choice. I never even knew my grandma went to prison, you know. Like, my grandma, to me, was tough, hardworking, but I didn't know at the time that she had embezzled money, you know. But she was. I mean, I remember going to her retirement party and stuff, and just a good woman, like, just a very, very good woman. And I mean, just think about that. Like, I never knew my grandma went to prison. Caroline and I never knew that, ever. And I think about, like, holding on or keeping a secret like that. You know, I almost wonder if there weren't conversations between, like, my mom and my grandma, or my aunt and my grandma, about, like, keeping it a secret. You know, like, I can't believe my mom never told me, honestly. And, you know, when I said something, when my dad told me, you know, he said, I just think your mom didn't want, you know, your mom and your aunt didn't want, well, my aunt was still alive when I found out, because I asked her about it, and she told me, and she was like, your dad should never have told you that. But my dad said to me, because my dad and my grandma were really close, like, super, super close. And he was actually the last person. So my grandma passed away from complications of a gallbladder surgery. But it was because she had emphysema, and my grandma was a super, super heavy smoker. And she was 67 when she passed away. And my dad was, like, one of the last people to see her before she, well, he was, like, the last person that saw her before she went into surgery. And, you know, he said, I just don't think that your mom wanted you to think poorly of your grandma, or think any differently than the image that you and Caroline had, you know, of your grandma. And that your grandma was a good woman, and that she cared a lot about you guys, and she loved you, and, you know, she did the best that she could. And I mean, I look back on it, like, my grandma had this huge love of animals. She always had black labs. When I was growing up, she had this black lab named Misty, and she literally had her picture in an 8x10 in her living room. No lie, okay? And, because I can remember my mom would be like, I can't keep grandma in that picture. She would just, like, think it was so hilarious. And I now get it, you know, like, that love for animals. But I almost think that my grandma's love of animals was because she didn't maybe like trust people a lot. I don't know. Like, I wish I could sit down with my grandma and talk to her and just ask her some questions about her life, you know? I know she had a really, really tough life. My mom would say, you know, like, my grandma's mom died when she was really young. This is part of what I like about this book, is that Carrie Rollins goes back in and she talks about her, like, family history. You know, my grandma, her mom died when she was younger, and she had, I think, 3 brothers and sisters. She had a brother and 2 sisters. And she was the oldest. And so it was her responsibility to, like, take care of them. Like, her dad worked, and, like, so my grandma, like, while she was in high school, like, made all the dinners and cleaned the house and all this kind of stuff. And, then my grandma's dad got married, and her stepmom and my grandma did not get along. Like, my grandma's stepmom hated her, my mom would say. And my grandma had gone to, like, I don't know what this would have been, but it would have been like technical school after you graduated from high school, I think. And it was like for bookkeeping, because that's what my grandma did, like accounting. And she was good with numbers. I mean, you kind of have to laugh at it in retrospect a little bit, you know? Like, I mean, I wouldn't if my mom or my grandma was here, but, like, I don't know. I mean, just the fact that my grandma was in prison and I never knew about it is just, like, so boggling to me. But anyway, so she graduated, and for her graduation, she had, like, been working, and she had, like, saved up money for the special graduation dress. And my grandma, like, came home to get ready for graduation, and her stepmother had, like, this is, like, a story my mom told a lot, and she had, like, cut the dress up, like, it was in the box, and she had, like, cut it up into, like, a ton of pieces. And and she was like, what are you gonna do now? And it was stuff like that just, like, devastated my grandma. Like, I think that's partly what made her a tough woman, you know? And when I asked my dad, I was like, I don't understand, like, why did grandma do what she did? And I understand a little bit more of it now after talking to my aunt, because my mom, like, I thought it happened when they were really young, but it didn't. It happened when my mom was, like, almost done with high school or done with high school. And because my dad later, like, after I found out from my aunt, I said something to my dad, and my dad was like, Peter, your grandma had 2 daughters in college. She was paying their tuition. She had to support herself. He goes, I'm not saying that it's right. He goes, but that's why she did the things that she did. And there was nothing right about what she did, you know? But I do believe that people change, and I think that they, you know, see the error of their ways. Like, I do believe that. Hell, I mean, I live it in recovery, you know? And I'm not the same person that I was a year ago. I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago. And I change every day, you know, in little small ways. I remember in that movie, Texasville, if you've never seen it, it's like the sequel to the Last Picture Show with Sybil Shepherd. And there's a great scene when, oh shoot, what's her name? Annie, I can't think of her name now. But anyway, she's the one that was in Designing Women. And she plays Jeff. I'm like blanking out on all these actors' names, but she plays his husband or his wife, and she's laying in bed, and he comes in the room and he looks at her and he goes, what's wrong? And she's like, what do you mean what's wrong? And she's like fanning herself, and he says, something about you's changed. And she says, I change 50 times a day and you don't even notice it. She says something about that. She references women make, like, changing more than men or something like that. And she goes, I change right in front of your face and you don't even know that. I don't know. I think the things that happen to us in our life are opportunities for change. I think the really sad thing is that not a lot of people want to allow you to change, I think. And I think truly good people, deep in their hearts, will see the error of your ways and allow you to change, because nobody's perfect. Let's just be for real, you know? But in the end, it's not really about other people anyway. I did find my lip balm, the one I was looking for, but it's not, it's almost empty. But I have like 6 of these because Alex bought me like 6 of them like 2 years ago. But in the end, it's not really about what other people think, you know? I mean, it really isn't. It's really about what you think. And if, like, you've learned the lesson, I don't know. And then I guess the question is, when do you know if you've learned the lesson? You ever feel like that about things? Like, have I learned the lesson? Or you feel like you've learned the lesson and things keep on happening? It's like, I think that's where, like, I have to really believe that things don't happen on my time, but they happen on God's time. But anyway, going way back to what I was talking about on Beaver Island, you know, it's so funny to me when I look at all the fantastic vacations I've taken in my life. I mean, my dad, I feel so blessed. My dad and my stepmom have really taken me on some amazing vacations. And before my dad and my stepmom were together, my dad took me a lot of places. I was like, you know, his little traveler with him, and we went to a lot of places. But it's that trip that always stands out in my mind. I mean, all of them do. I've had really great trips, but that trip stands out to me, like, just of being with my mom and, you know, her friend, and being on the island, and just, I don't know, there was just something about that trip that, like, I'm talking about, it changed me. I don't know, it, like, made me see the world in a different way. And I was, like, going into 10th grade. But it did. It, like, freed me up a little bit, you know? It was a fun trip. That was when my mom was still drinking, though. Her and her friend went out one night, and they got really, really, really drunk. And I can remember being scared when my mom came home. Not, like, scared, but, like, scared for her. That was always kind of how it was for me. I was always, like, worried that something would happen to her. I think winter might be over in Indianapolis. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I just have a feeling that, like, the snow and all of that stuff is done for. But I said that on here not too long ago, and then I can't remember who it was, but somebody said, you said that the snow was, like, gone, and then it, like, the snow came back. So every time I say that, then it snows the next day. I'm gonna pull in here at this gas station. I'm gonna see, like, when, like, what the weather's like this week. It says, you're awesome, we're hiring. Okay. Thank you for telling me I'm awesome. I'm tired. I'm gonna look up the weather, and then I'm gonna get off here in just a second. Tomorrow it says high of 48. Oh man, Wednesday, high of 59. Thursday, high of 62. Friday, 42, 40, 46, 47, 51, 49, 49, 54, 57, 57, 54, 57. Yeah, I think winter's over. I think we're done. Because Tuesday the 26th is 57. And that's almost the end of the month. And we're not going to get, like, I mean, we have had snow in April before, but not a lot. Allergy, breathing in good. It's talking about allergies already. That's interesting. All right, you guys, well, listen, I'm going to get off here now and listen to my audiobook as I go home, and I'm going to go to bed, and I will be back tomorrow. I love you guys. If you haven't heard it from anybody else today, I love you. Have an amazing day unless you have other plans. Do something to make today worthwhile. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.